Questions. Family. Why are our black kings and queens under attack? Why does justice feel like justice not for us? Why are our children still fighting to be seen, heard, protected, and treated fairly? This is more than a conversation. This is awareness, advocacy, accountability, action. Tonight we say their names. Tonight we walk in purpose. The legacy continues. The mission continues. The dynasty continues.
We are the change. We are the light. We keep on marching. We keep on fighting. Hands lifted high. Faith in our soul. Walking in purpose. We won't let go. Say their names. Let the truth ring loud. Black kings and queens. We're standing proud. The legacy lives. The mission remains. We rise in power. We rise through pain. We are the change. We are the change. We are the change. We desire to see.
Why they fear our babies when they walk in the room? Why they paint our sons with a shadow of doom? Why our daughters gotta fight to wear their crown? Why they build us up just to tear us down? But we got faith that can shake the ground. Truth in our voice, we gon' speak it loud. Purpose in our steps, we don't back down. God's got his hands all over this crowd. Christopher King bringing truth to the line. Miss Ebony shining with power divine. Queen Angela walking in purpose and grace, calling the people to stand in this place. This ain't just talk, it's a holy assignment. Breaking every chain, every crooked confinement. We don't move in fear, we move in flame. We lift our heads and we say their names.
Yes, it's not for yes, that's what it feel like. But we still stand strong in a real fight. They may twist the story, try to dim our flame, but truth got power when we say their names. We cover our children, we cover our homes. We cover the families grieving alone. We pray for the mothers with tears in their eyes. We pray for the fathers still asking God why. Pain don't stop purpose, grief don't win. God can restore what was broken within. We walk by faith, not by what we see. Chains gotta break when the people get free.
We are the change. We are the light. We keep on marching. We keep on fighting. Hands lifted high. Faith in our soul. Walking in purpose. We won't let go. Say their names. Let the truth ring loud. Black kings and queens. We're standing proud. The legacy lives. The mission remains. We rise in power. We rise through pain. We are the change. We are the change. We are the change.
We desire to see. Open your heart, open your mind. This is the moment, this is the time. Release the burden, release the shame. Stand in your word and call out the name. We won't be silent, we won't retreat. Purpose is marching with our feet. From generation to generation, we rise with prayer and liberation. The legacy continues, the mission continues, the dynasty continues. Oh.
We are the change. We are the light. We keep on marching. We keep on fighting. Hands lifted high. Faith in our soul. Walking in purpose. We won't let go. Say their names. Let the truth ring loud. Black kings and queens. We're standing proud. The legacy. The mission remains. We rise in power. We rise through
7073 734 6904. Access code 546 and 115 9 Evie. To enter the studio, press 1 number to join Lee.
Tonight we ask the hard questions.
Hey, y'all. We getting ready to go live. We getting ready to go live on the WBNN Beverly Nations. And I am excited to have you guys once again in the building. I want you guys to share this out with someone in your circle of influence, someone that may need to hear this tonight, y'all. We are going to be touching on the topic of injustice. We're going to be touching on the topic about justice, y'all. Just is not for us. And we've been seeing it all over the place. We've been seeing it all over the nation. And we're going to be touching on some of these cases that has been up before us, some of these cases that we have been seeing across social media, some of these cases that we have even seen in our own backyard. And it's time for us for those that are awoke, we need to stay awoke. And those that are sleeping, we need to wake up. And we need to really see what's happening within our communities and around this great nation, y'all. I'm getting ready to call in so I can get in queue. I'm getting ready to call in so I can get in queue. And I want you guys to do the same. Call in, get in queue, and join the conversation tonight.
Please enter the show ID followed by the pound key. You can.
So y'all come on and join the conversation.
Enter your PIN followed by the pound key. You are joining the online studio. Your line is muted. Only the host can unmute your line. Raise your hand using *2 so the host knows when you want to speak.
My hand is raised. I am in the queue. I am in the queue. See if I can play a song for y'all so we won't have no wasted airtime. You know, I like to make sure that I am respecting the mic. So we're going to play something in the background for you guys. Y'all know I got a little arsenal over here. I'm going to play something quick. What I got? It's 2 minutes long. Let's see that. Y'all know I done made a whole bunch of songs. I got like 100 songs over here. Let me see what this is. I think this is, I'll play this one.
Lord, I've had some days when the road got rough, and I've had some nights when I cried enough. But through every tear, you were still right there, holding my heart in the midnight air. I don't always know what tomorrow will bring,
I want some color.
but I know you're God over everything. Oh yeah, I won't run, I won't hide. I'm staying right here by your side. Through the storm, through the rain, I'll still bless your holy name. I am standing in your will. I make this vow to you, Lord. My heart is anchored still. I trust you, Lord. I trust you, Lord. No matter how I feel, I won't give up. I won't turn back. I'm anchored in your will. God, I'm available. Use my life. Take my pain and make it light.
Call in if you can, Shanette.
Take my story, take my scars, let them lead somebody to your heart. If you need a vessel, I am here.
If you need a servant, Lord, draw near. Anya, I won't run, I won't hide. I'm staying right here by your side. Through the fire, through the test, I know your way is always best. I am staying, I am standing, standing in your will. I make this vow to you, Lord. My heart is anchored still. I trust you, Lord, I trust you, Lord. No matter how I feel, I won't give up, I won't turn back. I'm anchored in your will. Here I am, Lord. Send me. Here I am, Lord. Use me. Here I am, Lord. Mold me. I belong to you completely. My yes is still yes. My heart is still yours. If you lead me, I will follow. I'll trust you with tomorrow. I am staying, I am standing. I'm planted in your...
Now enter the conference. Muted.
The mission of Walking in Purpose with Angela Thomas Smith. Now, of course, we're on air right now from beautiful downtown Lagos, Nigeria, receiving the home since 2013. In Roslyn, Pennsylvania, United States of America. Make sure our lines are clear.
Unmuted.
All right, Angela, you ready?
I am.
All right, prior to the call is y'all. Tell you being in Nigeria, the time's 9:29. Eastern Daylight Time.
Recording started.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, family. Welcome to Walk in Purpose with Angela on the WBNN Beverly Nation, broadcasting live from Lagos, Nigeria via www.talkshoe.com. I am your host, Queen Visionary Angela Thomas Smith, proudly representing the broadcasting class of 2020. And I am honored as the 2026 International Internet Radio Hall of Fame Broadcasting Lifetime Achiever Elect. I am also the 2023 International Internet Radio Hall of Famer for Broadcasting and the 2023 Anna Waddell Host of the Year recipient. Y'all, tonight we come together for our 4,599th presentation of Ngozi Time Multimedia LLC. And this conversation is one that must be heard, felt, and carried beyond this broadcast. Our topic tonight is why just is not for us. We're going to say their names. We're going to call them out. And tonight, we're going to say Carmelo Anthony, Tristan Weekly, Christopher Nienhuis, Nolan Wells, Kalia Simmons, Daniel Irvin, Daryl Lowry. Who is Carmelo Anthony? He was set up by the judicial system of Frisco, Collin County, Texas. Tristan Weekly was poisoned and left to die in 2024, and no one has been charged yet in the city of Frisco, Collin County, Texas. Christopher Nienhuis, Midlothian, Texas, Lewis County, attacked by a mob of white teens. He defended himself after being spat on, yet he was charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault. Nolan Wells went out on a boat July 4th with 3 of his white friends, turned up dead, the same island on July the 6th, and no one has been arrested yet. Kalia Simmons, shot 5 times, April 13th, by 3 white guys. 2 parents tampered with evidence, and yet they're out on bond. Daniel Irvin, Dallas, Texas, on his school swim team. He went fishing with 2 of his white friends. A week later, he was found dead in the lake and his friends arrested for tampering with evidence. Daryl Lowry. Now this one hit close to home for me. McCormick County, South Carolina, 13 years old, stabbed and held under the water until he drowned in a lake outside the foster home where he was placed by 2 white kids, 16 and 17. And they have been arrested. So tonight, y'all, we are asking the hard questions. Why is there such an attack on our Black kings and queens? Why does justice too often feel like just is not for us? Why are our children, our families, our communities still fighting to be seen, heard, protected, and treated fairly. This is not just a conversation. This is a call for awareness, advocacy, accountability, and action. Joining me tonight are two powerful voices: journalist, attorney, civil rights advocate Christopher King Esquire, also known as King Cass, and the dynamic, powerful Miss Ebony. Tonight, we're going to be speaking truth, honor names, uplift families, and examine the systems and narratives that impact our community. Here on Walking in Purpose with Angela, we believe purpose is not just something we talk about, it's something we live. Purpose is giving us direction. Purpose is giving us conviction. Purpose is giving us strength to release past burdens, to master our daily narratives, and boldly accept our worth. Family, tonight we stand on truth. We are the change that we desire to see in this world. So I want you to open your hearts, open your minds, and prepare for a powerful conversation. Tonight, as we say their names, tonight we will walk in purpose. Tonight, legacy continues. Tonight, the mission continues. Tonight, the dynasty continues. So I want you to call in to 717-734-6904. Punch in the access code 546-1150 To enter the studio, you must press £1. And to get into the conversation live, you must press *2 to get in queue. Again, we're going to say their names: Carmelo Anthony, Tristan Weekly, Christopher Nienhuis, Nolan Wells, Kalia Simmons, Daniel Irvin, Daryl Laurie. This episode is not just another broadcast. It is a call to listen. It is a call to question. It is a call to pray. It is a call to organize. And it is a call to demand the truth, justice, and humility that remains at the center of every conversation involving our Black children, our families, and our communities. So, without further ado, I would like to see if my guests are in the studio. King Cash, you there? Ebony, you there?
I'm not sure. You can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, how are you?
Yeah, nice to meet you.
I am great. I am great. I can't complain. I can't complain. I know King Cass may be running a little late. He's been on before, but since the listeners haven't had an opportunity to meet you, I would love for you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Sure thing. He he said that he is in, so I'm not sure where he is in the end, but I know he can hear you. I'm not sure.
Tell he needs to press *2 so he can get in queue so that my producer can see him in queue.
Maybe he can hear you. So thank you for having me. So my name is Dr. Ebony Blackman Humphrey. I'm a board certified psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. I've been in behavioral medicine for almost 2 decades. I've been a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner for 8 years. Very passionate. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're going out. I can hear you now.
Okay, can you hear me now? Because I can try to figure out if it's a connection issue. Just let me know. So I've been in psychiatry, as I said, for almost 2 decades, been a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner for 8 years, very passionate about mental and spiritual health. Really have, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, dedicated my career really to minority communities, vulnerable communities, giving them the access to mental health that I know that they deserve, and more recently, have found a new passion when it comes to advocacy, very committed to seeing justice, very committed to seeing change with regard to Carmelo Anthony. That's how I came into contact with King Cass.
Awesome, awesome. I tell you, you are definitely in one of the professions that I love. I love mental health because that is one of the avenues that we as Black and Brown people, we try to shy away from. And I'm so glad to see so many of us um, now going into that field so that we can better serve our community. So hats off to you for taking that route. I am a mental health advocate because I have had to utilize services. I've struggled with PTSD. I have struggled with all types of trauma. I'm a survivor of domestic violence, shot point blank range with shotgun. I am a suicide attempt survivor, a sexual assault survivor. So the list goes on and on. But I'm so thankful for individuals like yourself because there was a time when, I really struggled because there was no one like me that I could go and talk to. So hats off to you. Hats off to you. And you mentioned the Carmelo Anthony's case. That case has been one that has just really I have been passionate about that case. It actually happened the day after my birthday, and when I saw that, I just knew something went right. It was just like my spirit was drawn to it. And I have been one of those that have sit in the background. I don't host panels, but I support a lot of the panels. I go on and I try to learn as much as I can. If they call me up, I'll come up. But most of the time, I'm down in the comments trying to take in all that I can take in so that I can spread the word and get the word out so that we can continue to educate and empower our community. So, with that being said, with your background and with your expertise, um, what what do you what aspect do you bring to this case, and how have you been able to share this case within the community to help empower our youth?
Um, my credentials, right? So in psychiatry, a person that holds your type of credentials could have been an expert witness, right? With regard to Carmelo having epilepsy and with regard to what epilepsy does to the human brain, what it does to the body, when he's placed or when a person that has that type of condition is placed in a crisis, how the brain would either facilitate working through that crisis or not. My type of profession, I could have lent expert information with regard to the behavior or the behaviors of the teams that were under that canopy. I could have provided commentary to them to kind of shed light on, why teams would aggregate like that. Why would there be a hostile confrontation at a school event? I could have shed light on, de-escalation and things like that. That would have maybe given the jury understanding of the totality of things or behaviors that were going on under that tent so that it wouldn't have appeared as though, you have a young boy who is said to have been under that tent and so many people said to have told him to leave, and then it looks like, he went into his backpack and pulled out an object and used it in a way that said that he should have been charged with first-degree murder. As an expert witness, I would have been able to give them a better understanding of what was going on so that they probably, more than likely could have made a different decision or a more well-rounded decision, I would say.
And we know with having epilepsy, and what may trigger it, and with the way that these events occurred, would you say that Carmelo did fear for his life? Because a lot of people, they brush it off as a push, and it bothers me that they act like a push. We don't know how much force was behind that push. They just act like he just barely touched him. But we know that if you're going up to someone and you're pushing them, it's not just a touch. And a lot of people have tried to brush it off as a gentle push, a gentle touch. So can you kind of explain how a person, knowing that they have this type of illness and knowing some of the things that trigger it and different things like that, how do you think he would, I know I know you're not Carmelo, but if you sit down and talk with someone that is going through those things, what would you think they would say to you about their level of fear?
You know, situation, knowing that, he was epileptic, he would know the magnitude of his epilepsy, right? I can only go off of, things that I have heard, like I watched a video where his parents had shared that he was seizing in custody after the hearing was over, and they convicted him, and that he was seizing in there and he needed his medication. And the dad had said that he was waiting to see, how could he go about getting Carmelo his medication because he was seizing in custody. And so, when you think about what that means to a person, when you're seizing, you don't know if you are going to live or not, right? Because you don't have control over your bodily functions. Your brain is glitching, so to speak, kind of like when you have a cell phone and your cell phone is glitching and you're trying to press buttons to get it to power off, and you're trying to move throughout the screens and it won't obey you, right? Your phone is taking on a mind of its own. Well, you have the power to, hold down the power button to try to hit a reset to try to stop your phone from glitching. Well, as a human that's epileptic, you don't have that power to stop your brain from doing that. Your brain has to decide that it has gone through the process it needed to go through in order to reset itself to where you then regain consciousness, right? I don't know if he has a history of grandma seizures or petite seizures, right? But there are seizures like tonic seizures where, a person could lose access to their airway and they can lose their life, especially if they are surrounded by objects like cement, where you could hit your head at the same time, your tongue is retracting down your throat and you can't breathe, and you don't have any, healthcare professionals around you to help you mitigate that. So that could have explained why he remained seated, right? That the videos that I saw was that he didn't get up, that he was sitting down. And so, I looking at those videos and saying, well, he would know more about his seizures than anybody else.
Right.
And, he would know whether or not he didn't want to stand up because he didn't want to go into a full-on seizure. And these boys could then have their way with him, right, with him having lost his consciousness undergoing a seizure. And then I also saw where, he had a left-sided shoulder injury. It looks like he had a football injury, and so they had to repair his left side shoulder. So you can only imagine what a kid is going through, knowing that you have a history of seizures, knowing that you had, repair done to your left shoulder. You know what I'm saying? You're pretty much defenseless. You know what I'm saying? So if you have this crowd that's surrounding you and you're the focal point, yes, you would be afraid for your life, because if you stand up, you could have a seizure. You're sitting down epileptic and your cortisol levels or your stress levels are elevated. You could see sitting down, you know what I'm saying? So yes, there is, justification to say that he was afraid for his life, as he should have been.
Wow. Well, we have King Cass. King Cass is in queue, so we're gonna bring him on in so he can join the conversation. Welcome, 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 King.
Terrific, thank you. And then just, I think basically I'll second everything that the doctor just said, but like I say, I'm not even conceding that he really did the thing in and of itself, or that was the proximate cause of death. But otherwise, I do concur with what was said, and the focus of my discussion tonight will be to go over the motion for new trial with an emphasis on the fact that it was a closed courthouse for all intents and purposes, and the implications of that.
Right.
And I think I may start with the press conference hot off the presses that Jeff Metcalf just did with Coach Carter. I want to point out a number of, to be polite, I'll say, contradictions in what was stated and what has been done. Because I made notes, and I have my notes ready for us to go through quickly and efficiently so we can address this situation.
All right, all right. Well, we know that Camilo has two hearings coming up, correct? One is
that's right.
The recusal of Cockroach, and the other one is for a new trial. So we are yet hopeful, and I definitely want to hear some more about that. Ebony, you stick around, and I want you to chime in as you see fit. We just having a conversation so that we can bring awareness to the things that are happening within our Black and Brown community, so that our people can be more aware of the judicial system and some of the things that's happening around their backyards. So take it away, King.
Indeed. I don't know if I can get this call, if I lose this call or not. Hold on a second. I'm gonna shoot them a message. Hang on. Let me just shoot a message to this person real quick. They can join the show. Okay.
So King, while he's shooting that message, for those that did not catch us last month, King Cass was my special guest. We started talking about the Carmelo Anthony's case and the setup and the railroad and all of the different things. I tell you, every day we're learning something new about this case. Something is being uncovered daily. That's why it's very important that we have these conversations and that we are aware of the laws and that we know these penal codes and we know these case laws and we know these things, so that if we get in trouble or we know someone in trouble, that we're able to advocate, that we're able to make sure that the right justice comes forth. Because sometimes I wonder, is justice for us? Because the way it's been looking is like it does not register for us Black and Brown people. King, you ready?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay.
So let's go over the procedure quickly. So Judge Hall is the judge is going to be hearing the motion for a new trial. Not the motion to recuse. But that's on the 19th. Then the next day, by a jurist as yet undetermined or panel of judges, I'm not sure if it's going to be single or whatever, but the judge from the Fifth District Court of Appeals will hear that. Now, here's the interesting thing, and I don't predict this happening, but there's an outside chance that it could happen, is that there's a 75-day window on the motion for new trial to be decided, and that window will expire soon. I forget the exact date, but next week. So it's possible that if Judge Harrell does not issue his order on recusal, then it could lay in abeyance pretty much, because if the motion for new trial is denied for some reason, then it will go to the Court of Appeals, and the motion to recuse is just kind of dormant. It's not right for consideration at that time, right? So to be back in the Court of Appeals if the motion for new trial is denied. So that's a possibility, but in my thought, given the number of wrongs and the gravity of the wrongs that have happened in this case, some of which we'll discuss now, I don't think that Judge Harrell would want to see this walk through on his nickel, because I forget his exact position, but he's in an elevated position in terms of jurist. He decides ethical issues. He's like the chair or something, on one of the ethical committees, I believe, or has been, So he's like rarefied air, okay? And he has recused judges a number of times. So he's not known as being a buck passer, right? So, yeah, that's where that sits. I just want everybody to know that that's the situation now. And I have heard, even though the Public Information Officer, Steve Stoller, has never written me once, I've never been contacted by that office ever since Derek Jackson left. We'll talk about that in a minute. I think my word for him is vaporized. In the position, he was vaporized with no explanation. And I'm still seeking his personnel file. More on that later. So anyway, Steve Stoller has not communicated this to me, but I'm told through other people that this will be an open hearing, that the shenanigans that we witnessed before are not going to happen. It's going to be an open courthouse, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not sure if that means, again, the journalists can, as per usual, bring, electronic devices for recording, all those things that were prohibited at the trial, right? But anyway, yeah, so there's that. Now, let's cover briefly what I just heard happen with respect to this press conference that he had with Coach Jackson, I think his name is. Okay. Carter, Jackson. Coach Quincy Carter, sorry. Yes. All right, where do I start? First of all, in order to change anything, so let me define the premise. Okay. Premise is there's a starvation now. And Jeff starts off saying, we're going to save lives. Well, that's a very laudable cause, very noble cause, right? Because we're going to teach things like de-escalation and problem resolution, conflict resolution, okay? All these things that his sons were not known for. Okay, let's keep it real, right? Okay. And I will jump ahead to say that somebody asked Jeff at the end of the meeting, how would you, given what you're looking to do now, is there something different that you would have counseled Austin to do on that day? Jeff kind of sidestepped this, and he says, well, both people could have done something different that day. That wasn't really the question, okay? So he sidesteps that. And in reality, if you've been following the case deeply, you'll know that back in the chambers, they had this argument over one of the orders that was going to be given. And I'm not going to go deeply into it, but the bottom line was, during this discussion, Bill Worthy, the prosecutor, ends up saying, well, yeah, the initial aggressor was Austin. Well, yeah, but that's not what you had the students testify to while Mike Howard sat there like a bump on a log. This whole case is totally cattywampus, right? Because you remember he had the kids say that Carmelo was the aggressor, but he had them say that, but he never had them elocute as to how he was the aggressor, and then Mike Howard sat there and didn't object. So you just can't make this up. This is 1L failure.
And nobody saw him poke him. Every kid that came up there was asked, did they see Carmelo poke Austin? And everybody said no.
Right.
So if you didn't see him get poked, then I'm just lost.
Yeah, how do you have a quantum of circumstantial evidence large enough to do that?
Correct.
To make that leap. And I would presume, I wasn't there, I mean, I was outside, but I would presume that Mike Howard would have filed a motion or, argued a motion for a directed verdict, right? And then subsequently for a judgment notwithstanding the verdict, right? But that Roach isn't going to give that because he's basically a bigot. He's not going to do that. Because the evidence wasn't there, much less for 35 years worth. The whole thing was just a joke, right? So there's that piece. But let's go back now. So now we're going to get into an analysis of what was said. Okay, got my sippy cup here. All right. So my premise is this: in order to change anything, you have to start with honesty and integrity, both of which are sorely lacking in this endeavor to date. From what I saw today, like I said, I do hope good things come from this. As I had the Education Coalition in law school, which was a thing, my brainchild, my girlfriend and I devised this, and it was an outreach-based program, and with my friends from law school, we were highly sought throughout Greater Cleveland. I still have an article in the newspaper that some plaques that middle school teachers gave us for reaching out to kids at that critical age, middle school. So anyway, and now I'm speaking to Jeff, and I says, as I said to you in that letter I wrote you, Jeff, I cannot imagine what you're going through. As my parents lost my eldest sister before I met her, right? And my niece is named Michelle after her, okay? So I said, good day, Mr. Metcalf. This is what I wrote him some time ago. First of all, I'm here to offer my condolences on the loss of your son, Austin. When we put aside all the heated online arguments from all sides, the bottom line is that you lost a son. Now, the loss is something that no one can possibly put into words, and I know it's because of my eldest sister died as a toddler. Now, to this day, 60 years later, my father's entire persona changes when he talks about Michelle, and my niece is named after her. So there you have that piece. But I want to say, when Jeff talks about forgiveness, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. But he talks about when he tried to explain the whole premise of this show, supposedly, to address his controversial comments. That's not what it turned into. There was one question about that later on, so I'm going to jump ahead and address that. So, Jeff, what he did was, he said, there was one time when I went off, basically, and it was in this, he said to the reporter, you're asking about the post-trial comments. Well, they gave him a softball because we all know, and I may play it for you here. Yeah, let's play it for you here. That wasn't the only time that Jeff went off like that, right? So I'm going to remind everybody so we can clearly hear it, so there'd be no further confusion, right? As to what Jeff said before. All right. Okay, let's hear it. 3, 2, 1. About race. Please don't politicize it. But they chose to do both. And you're going that day with fuck off. Man, you fuck off, man. You can just man, why don't you go to fucking just let her where you belong? Maria, do you have a question?
Yeah, Jeff Metcalf, you're a racist ass prick.
Fuck you, nigger, fucking whore-loving bitch. It's not something to brag about in your culture. I got a new neighbor, Mello, okay? He was such this little boy I was trying to portray. How about watermelon felon? How's that one strike you? Anthony, you're a pussy, you coward, you raised one. Kayla, you drunk bitch. The chick that would provoke change said about Pat. They got his. Okay, that gets into Pat Fallon. But now, so let's stop right there. We'll get back to Pat Fallon in a minute. Actually, we got to segue right into that, okay? So, Jeff says, I had all this bottled in, all this stuff, all 14 months. People were telling all these lies and saying horrible things about my son, me and my son, right? Well, in reality, he and his ex-wife were busy lying. And each complained about lying. They were the liars. I'm not saying other people didn't lie on Carmelo's side, but they lied about their son being in the 10th birth. That's not true. Point blank. They both lied. Okay? Then Megan tried to cover up the fact that she answered Hunter's phone, so she's already there. Why are you already there, Megan?
Was something going on already at school with twins? Okay, so there's that. But not only that, Jeff was not silent because he's buddies with a congressman, federal congressperson, and that would be Pat Fallon. And Pat Fallon was busy running his mouth throughout the pendency of the trial, calling Carmelo Anthony a scumbag. And so I wrote Pat, and I'm like, hey, brother man, what you got, man? You know, what kind of facts other than those alleged on that day do you have to say that, you know, that Carmelo Anthony was a scumbag? He saved a life before, a drowning victim. He had 3-7, had 2 jobs, you know, had a nice car, had no criminal record, right? Where you coming from? So, Jeff, you were not silent. You had one of the most potent mouthpieces you could possibly imagine. A person who I believe to be a racist government official, right? Because remember, Pat Fallon lambasted Judge Angela Tucker when Judge Angela Tucker did everything by the book with Carmelo's bond. She reduced his bond to $250 from $1 million. Meanwhile, Casey Allison, the white kid in Texas, who knowingly entered a fight with a knife, his bond was reduced to $175. Did I see Pat Fallon bitch about that? No. So it's transparent. You want to say, well, let's not make race a part of this. Race is all over this. Let me continue further. Let it be further known that Pat Fallon's son, both sons, I believe, were at that track that day, and one of them, judging by his TikTok moniker, reposted a meme with Carmelo Anthony standing there, and it had a reference to a chimp, sub to chimp. And then if you look at the bottom left-hand corner, the website was white is right. So you have that, right? So, no, I'm going to roll right now. So we'll get back to Pat and what he said. We're going to record. I'll play you some of what Pat said. But before I get there, let's talk about Susan, the missus. I put up a post about Megan. And I was clearing up an internet rumor that I did not start, that Megan was having relations with Mike Howard. And I said, no, come on, guys. We can't, you know, that's messy. I said, no, that's not him. The guy did look like him. But I have a lot of sources. I know a lot of stuff that I don't talk about because we're talking about now. It's not pertinent, whatever. I knew who the guy was. I did post his name once. And I said, he did not insert himself into this case. So there's no reason to talk about it further than this. This is his name. It's not Mike Howard. Okay. Now, I also said it originally that it was not Megan, but it was Megan. So I said, okay, my bad, I was wrong. So Jeff goes to be a smartass on my page. He says, this is not the first time you've been wrong. And I'm like, Jeff, just give it a break, man. I've already apologized to you for the one time I said you were convicted of sexual assault. I clarified it in a few minutes, dude. You know what I mean? But they already screenshot it. And I said, just stop. You know, I go around telling everybody you were never convicted, you were charged, which is true. He tries to deny that. So, all right, let me stay on course here. So now, he tried to have trade bar with me over that. When really, again, dude, I was doing your ex a solid and disassociating herself with a negative rumor. Okay, right. So here comes Susan Fallon. Here she comes. And Pepper's me. Pepper's Papa. Pepper is me. Oh my God, hold on. Pepper, come here, honey. It was me. I'm sorry, baby.
that was the dog.
I'm sorry, baby. It was just me. It was just me. Come here. All right. So anyway, so here comes Susan knocking on the door, right? And she says, "Give it a rest. Put your dark heart energy to better use." And I'm like, "Excuse me, bitch. You're on my page and you gotta talk to me like that when I was doing your friend a song? Get the fuck off of my page with that bullshit, woman." So I dressed her right down. Yes, I did. Being on my page is a privilege. And if you want to come there and trash talk me when I'm doing your friend a favor, you get the fuck out. All right? Honestly. And so I dressed her down. I said, oh, by the way, I see you're from Northern Ohio. I'm from Northern Ohio. I used to write for a newspaper right down the street from you. Right? Wow. And you went to Kent State University? Oh, I know Kent State very well. My favorite band is Devo. Devo was at Kent State when their friends got shot. Furthermore, I know Dean Kamen. All right? Dean Taylor, rather. He was the guy, one of the guys that was shot. He's a paraplegic. My friend made Standing Stone Art Gallery down there over in Amesville. They bought his house back in the 90s because it had an elevator in it because he was paraplegic from being shot by Batch's pigs. So we used to make pottery there, and we can use the elevator for heavy objects or for the kiln. They had underground kiln, all this stuff that, we were hanging out over there back in Amesville, all that stuff, right? Yellow Springs, where Dave Chappelle lives, all that stuff. That was me in the 90s, right? So I'm telling her, and by the way, I went to law school at Case Western Reserve, which is right down the road also from that area. So you want to play like I'm not in your areas, all right? This white woman, you want to play like that? You're not going to play like that with me because I'm in your areas, So don't even ever talk down to me like that. Get out of here. I could see it if I was talking shit about Megan, but I wasn't.
Well, I can honestly say that a lot of them have been the ones that have started a lot of this stuff. They've acted on. They have went on panels and encouraged the anti-Camelo supporters to do a lot of the things that they've done. People have been doxxed. People have lost jobs. People have it has so much has happened behind this case because people have lied. And the fact that we have Congress people, we have elected officials, people that are supposed to protect and serve, people that are supposed to be for the community, the way they have positioned themselves and got themselves involved within this. And we all know what it all boils down to. People trying to cover for their kids. When people say they'll do anything for their kids, I definitely have seen that in this case. But to railroad Camelo like they done, every day there is something new that's being exposed, and they are still going with their rhetorics. They're still trying to just do different stuff. The fact that Jeff come forward with this, he's been real quiet since Camelo Dream Team stepped on the scene. He has been really, really quiet until this. Until this, and then we know that he got a what is it? A stop and one of them letters to tell you not to be using the watermelon felon. A stop and yes, that, and it's just been a lot. But the fact that he would come out and, like you say that he's going to stand for the things that his sons did not represent. If we go through their records, we'll see who the real culprits were. We will see who the real bullies were. We'll see who have the real juvenile charges. We know that a lot of these things are sealed, but we know that they're there. There's so much that has come out since Camelo has been convicted. And if all these things had been exposed ahead of time, Camelo would be free, because Hunter would be paying for his what he did. Hunter is the reason why his brother is not here, and they need to own up to that. But they didn't want to lose another child to the system, so they set Camelo up and they blackballed him. But they're not going to get away with this. The Dream Team is not letting them get away with this. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be exposed, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to go down behind this. So I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot of people wearing some bracelets.
First people everywhere I go. I think if you don't want to give it to me, for whatever reason, you may not like me or whatever, I don't care. Give it to the Dream Team. If you got something, please do that, right? So there's that. We're going to get into the boy's background in a minute, but I want to come back to circle back on Jeff and his excuses for being racial, okay? But again, first of all, he ignored the first time he did it, right? It was twice, actually, because it was twice, at least twice that he went after the racial epithets. Okay, so listen to this. Drew Anthony has been subject to all kinds of stuff. We know that they had a team to go to his car dealership and drive cars, be qualified, and then reject the purchase, reject the contract, purchase and sale agreement, reject it, and then go back and say because you're employing a murderer, a father of a murderer, right? So they docked him out of the house, docked him out of the dealership. and the people think hate messages in his house too. And he hasn't gone around talking about racial epithets toward white people. You know, he has not. So that doesn't work. Jeff, I'm sorry. You can miss me with it. So let's continue. He also said that, well, he again, he's a liar. He told someone online that I blocked him on Facebook because I was afraid to talk to him, and he couldn't take the heat. And I said, that's not true, actually. I had accidentally friended him. When I was friending a whole bunch of people, you know, I get like so many requests a day. I'm like, da, 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 and then I hit hit by accident. So I went back and I canceled it out. And you know, I automatically blocked him. I didn't mean to really, but I went back and unblocked him. But I said, wait a minute. Given your performance on air, you better prove to me that you can handle yourself responsibly. So I'm going to challenge you to an open air debate or discussion, right? To which he never accepted. So he convinced me with all of it, right? So. Yeah,
you should have known that was not going to happen. You should have known that was not going to happen. We have caller number 1 in queue. We have a caller in queue. We're gonna allow this caller to come on, and then I want Miss Ebony. I want Dr. Ebony to be thinking about this question I have for her. I want her to chime in on all of the racist rants and the different things that we have witnessed Jeff do across these social media sites. And I want you, from your professional expertise, to chime in on that and talk about that from your outlook. We have caller number 1 in queue. Yes. Okay.
The integrity and honesty, you have to face up to what the situation about right off the ab initio, right off the bat. You've got to do that before you can fix anything, right? So let's go down a laundry list of things that I've assembled over the last couple of months that were going on at the Metcalf house and in the background of these kids. All right, in no particular order. We have a youthful offender on a police call, at least one call. It's hard to tell from the response. Okay, I've said that before. The Metcalfians denied it. I had the document. It's up there. It's posted. You have a child abuse allegation in 2008, New Year's Day. I had the Metcalfians tell me, what was her name told me, that they weren't even born yet. The twins weren't even born yet. This woman told me that, okay? That's a lie. They were born in July of 2017. So when they were 6 months old, there was a mandated reporter allegation of child abuse that did not result in a conviction or a deferred finding. Okay, and to deferred adjudication. So they still, the city of McKinney is still trying to, what they have a pattern of, the law firm, they have a pattern of refusing to give basic information, which is name, charges, basic narrative. They refuse to give that all the time. And they run off to the AG's office for an opinion. Well, I have all their examples, and I've already killed that. I wrote the AG's office, and I said, this is ridiculous. And I wrote the lawyer, and I made a movie about it. And I said, you guys do this every time. Here's like 6 cases where they tell you every time, this is not a novel discussion. Basically, give the person, the requester, the information. So, all right, so let's continue. So we have the child offender. We have the child abuse allegation from 2008. We have a father-in-law, an alleged assault of some type.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
Chris, hold on. I don't want you going to rant. We got these callers on, so I don't want to do the calling. So hold up.
Okay, well, take the call.
I don't want you live direct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. Call number 1, you're live and direct right now with Walking in Purpose Answers. I'm Smith.
Hi, caller.
Hey, peace, brilliant and beautiful spiritual daughter of mine and daughter of the Most High. This is your Abba. I just want to say I love you with the heart and soul of me. I'm so proud of all that you're doing for us in our world. And I don't expect anything less, honor to your special honored guest. There's so much that's happening in our world. So let me be swift and direct to the point. The evil ones in their time know that their time was up. That time ended. 2019, from 1619 to 2019, right? So now, we only been out of this bondage for 7 years. So now, they're doing everything in their power to bring about all kind of destruction on this beautiful planet of ours. Because they know, according to the scripture, America is under a serious judgment, according to scriptures. The Better Sheets, Genesis chapter 15, verse 13, 14, and you also can throw in 15 if you want. It's our turn in time now. The only thing that's missing is got to be us, realizing who and what we are, and that we come from greatness. And the scripture has always been there, hidden in sight. It's for us to do it. If we want to put a stop to all of the senseless killing, the hanging, the dragging, and all that kind of stuff like that, it's not going to stop till we make it stop. Mm-hmm. And we already have the power to make it stop. We just have to accept the fact, comprehend that, and go about our Heavenly Father's business. Anyway, like I said before, I'm so proud of you to see how far you've come, and just keep doing what you're doing, and your arbor is so proud of you, okay?
Well, thank you for chiming in and sharing. Amazing show last night. Thank you for all you do. I tell you, you and Jerry y'all pushed me. I remember when I first came on the network, I was in between you and Jerry, so I had no choice but to step it up. So I'm grateful for you guys being who you were, to lead by example, to set that and set it out for me and to lay it out for me so that I would have something to reach for. So thank you guys. And if you would, before you leave, please tell everybody who you are and when your next show will be.
Yes, my travel name is Huni Bakatun. I think the stage name is Master. Top Magic Man Haru. I had a show last night, and you still can take time to download it, take time to share it, because it's definitely one of the most important advancements that I was to deliver. And it was saying payback is a bewitch, right? And like I was saying earlier, it's our turn in time now. That being passive and just letting them have their way, especially for our children, it's time for us to put a stop to it and stop walking alone. Whether you listen to this live or direct, we got to be walking and moving in groups. We can't allow and stop being so trusting. Thank you so much. Oh, my next show will be 30 evenings from last night. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Ebony, if you will answer that question, and then we're gonna let King Cass continue with that list, because it is important to share who these twins are so that people can really get a good picture of who they are. But I want you to chime in really quick on your thoughts to Jeff and his rants, if you would.
Yes, so can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I have to change out in my earphones. What I can say using brevity, right? I am very fortunate, to, see how this is, playing out. I do live in the Frisco area, and so I am aware of the climate in this area when it comes to the acceptance of different races. What I can say with regards to what I've heard Jeff Metcalf say in interviews, the audio that King Cass played, I would say that, we are in a very interesting time. Right. And so what do I mean interesting? Things are right out in the front, and we get to decide what we're gonna do with what we are seeing and what we are hearing, right? One of the things that I'm noticing in terms of just like psychological or mental health trends is that people are now becoming more aware of how people truly feel. It's not necessarily about seeing it in a movie, right? Or you seeing it on reality TV. you are seeing it in real time in the comment section, which parallel what you hear Just Metcalf say. And I think that, you know, I think in a lot of ways, though the overall arching theme of it is bad, I think it's really helpful because we get to see that it is to our advantage to unify as a people, right? Where you're not living in this delusion that people or everyday people who are walking by you are accepting of you. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you know that the everyday person is in the chat or in the comment section and they are giving their real life commentary of how they feel, right? Another thing that I would say with regards to what Just Metcalf has been saying, it lets you know how protective he is of his group, right? What he identifies with. And you see that they're not coming out for the most part bashing him because even in his wrong, they are sticking together. And that lets you know the power of unity. You know what I'm saying? That they don't see that this is the advantageous time to rebuke him or cast him down because he is using rhetoric that can make them look bad. You know what I'm saying? They're creating a space for him that's not ostracizing him, right? They're saying he's a grieving father and he has these quote unquote rebels that are gearing up against him, you know, and, you know, we want the killer out of prison. You know, that's the only thing that they can see because that protects the narrative that has kept them safe. So I say for, you know, minority, well, I should say we're not a minority, right? When you think about the continent of Africa, we're 1.5 billion. So we're not a minority, you know, we're a minority in the context of being in America. But when you think about the power of unity, right? What's going on in Africa, the power of unity helps us to overcome. And the more we see the agenda of other nations, that should make us realize that we actually do need each other, right? And that we don't just need each other temporarily, we need each other for the long term. That's what I would say.
Wow, right. I definitely agree with everything that you have said. You know, we have to learn how to come together. We have been a race of people that truly don't understand what the word unity is because people will support we see what Jeff them are doing. We see how they are rallying up and they are supporting even when they're wrong. Just like Hunter said, his brother Austin always had his back. Even when he was wrong, he had his back. So we definitely know that regardless, right or wrong, they're gonna stick together. And we have to learn how to stick together. You know, sometimes we gonna have to learn to criticize and to address people behind closed doors and in the back on the back side instead of doing it in front of people. That's one of the things that a lot of people, you know, they can't take criticism, and when they're corrected, they get offended. So sometimes we got to learn when and where and how to do it. King Cass, if you would, go ahead, finish that list because I really want people to really get an idea of who these twins were and some of the things that they did do. We want to kind of wrap it up real quick because I really want to talk about going into possibly a retry, a new trial, and some of the things that has been exposed in that 194 page document, if you would. So see if you can wrap it up in about 3 minutes.
We'll do this, then you'll have more commentary, then back into the case in terms of the closed court and why that argument is so important for a new trial. So We already talked about the youthful offender finding, or not finding, but the charge. Okay, I'm not sure what year that was. We talked about the child abuse allegation in 2008. The father-in-law was there. Jeff made a complaint about the father-in-law that apparently had assaulted him or something. He wanted to put charges on him. That was 2011. Now, what 3 reasons would your father-in-law figure want to whip you? Okay, either you ain't making no money, or you're earning too money, you are hitting somebody you shouldn't be hitting, or you're hitting somebody you shouldn't be hitting. One of them was a literal sense, and the other one was a figurative sense, right? So, those are the 3 typical reasons. I don't know what the reason was in this case, but anyway, yes, there was an issue of that. Austin broke his shoulder, like 2022. He also settled a case for civil fraud in 2014. Okay, and the real estate business. I think there were a black couple that got, they alleged that they got shifted. All right, they settled, not dismissed, settled. The racist graffiti arrest that came out, according to Jalen, not Jalen, no, it was like Jose at the police station that Mike Howard wrote a declaration about. He also said that Jose talked about the way Austin got in this altercation with Carmelo was the way he would get with them. Okay. Then you have the cheerleaders that I broke. Attorney Mike Campbell from Not Guilty Boys broke it, but then I really broke it with a viral video about the cheerleader email. Later on, Megan had to come out and admit that that's what happened, but she was like, "Oh, that's just how he is." And it's like, no, man, you need to take belt to hat, or something, because if I acted like that to some young ladies, boy, my dad would have had them bisexual hands, as Hunter claimed, again, at that cheerleader incident, that, he's got bisexual hands, meaning he'll hit boys and girls. Okay? This is who they were, right? So I almost worked through the list. The racist graffiti, also mentioned that. And then also, in 2019, Jeff tried to bring criminal charges against a fence builder for over a contract dispute in 2019. And the cops told him, that's a civil issue, Jeff. He didn't complete the fence. What are you doing here, right? So you're starting to see a bit of a pattern there. And it's, sure, there was a note in the file that Carmelo Anthony had witnessed and been victimized by some type of abuse in his house, okay? That may be true. But I guarantee you, in my opinion, if you put pound to pound and you match out these 2 families, right? They put the fear of God in Carmelo about testifying. I really believe that there's nothing in his background that is going to, in any way, come up on the heavier side of the scale compared to these twins.
I mean, but we already know that. We already know that, King Cass, because when they went to the school to get records on them, Carmelo had nothing, but yet it would take 6 hours to gather the Metcalfians records. It's already been proven.
Well, let's be clear about that. Let's be very clear about that. Okay, hang on. I did a lot of research on this, and the issue is that what it boils down to is it did appear that when Tiffany asked that question, there was a narrow frame of reference, and the response to me indicated it would take this much time to go through all the records to figure it out, right? And it doesn't mean that every single document that would have been responsive might have been to that, but if you really looked at what she asked, and it's been a long time since I broke it down, but I have her original request and the response back. And to me, it clearly, there's an indicia of the probability that some of those records included disciplinary issues, right? And Carmelo had that one issue, that was handled, and I believe that issue involved someone who's being picked up, someone in a wheelchair, but I have not corroborated that. That's the only issue that we know of in his background.
No.
Can I add something?
Yes, ma'am.
And I would say what you hear King Cass doing, we're very blessed because he's an attorney, right? So how does psychiatry or mental health come in? We would know about all of this, right? And we would chart it. But our records have a double glass ceiling on it. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So if you have someone that has gotten in trouble, right, and they're trying to paint that person as being like the perfect child or the perfect friend or the perfect family, no way would you have been able to know all that is now known unless you have an attorney that's working as an investigative journalist, right? Because now he can go and he can prove that this is not a picture perfect family, which destroys the narrative. But this is what people do to protect their narrative as a people, so that they don't give off this imagery that they're unstable. Because if you knew that they were unstable, would you let them run for government? Would you let that person be a judge? Would you let that person be a sheriff? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I think that as we are learning how this goes, right? I don't recall situations in the past where we're like looking up judges to make sure that they're not on the child abuse list. You know what I'm saying? Or looking up DAs or looking up prosecutors to make sure that they, don't have charges. You know what I'm saying? So this situation is really working out for the good, and that's why I tell King Todd, what he's doing right now is really going to change the trajectory of how we handle legal matters going forward.
Right. Because a lot of people that's involved in this case, me personally, I don't think they even should have the positions that they have. If they're on any type of registry, they should not even be able to be on the judge, to sit on the bench. And if you was the reason why a county had to pay out $1.7 million because of essay charges or essay allegations, you should not be able to hold or to put anybody, bring charges against anybody with charges like that. I just think those are not the type of people that need to be handling and in the forefront of our judicial system. Like it's just so much that is so wrong about that. And then they run uncontested. They have nobody that's willing to run against them. So yet they keep getting in office. They keep getting elected for these things. Like it's sad. It's a sham.
It is.
So King Cass, we wanted to talk about the case that's coming up.
Okay.
I mean the motion that's coming up on the 20th. Hopefully we'll get a new trial for Carmelo. Let's talk about that and what that looks like.
All right, let's go right into it. So people are all getting shape saying that, oh, now it's coming out. Well, the transcript says this, and it contradicts what Mike Howard said about the gentleman's agreement, and this, that, and the other. It's like, well, wait a minute. Let's get real. That's not even the primary argument to the new trial motion. That stuff is important, and the fact that there was no real defense at all, there was no investigation of the scene, no investigation into what went in and out of that trash can, which we know was exculpatory evidence of some kind, right?
Right.
We don't know what kind. So none of that happened. No clothing was tested. All of these things that just never happened. But they agreed to not talk about that. Much less the identity of who was under the tent, who was where. And just before we move into this discussion about the closed court and why it's so important, remember, this so-called gentleman's agreement had nothing to do with the ability of Mike Howard to back down and say, okay, even if we're going to only discuss what happened under the tent, the so-called try the case clean rationale, even if we're going to do that, we can make out a chart, like a football chart with X's and O's and the line of scrimmage, and Carmelo could say, okay, to stay out of character issues, okay, Carmelo, where were you seated? What figures were around you? Put an X where somebody was during each 30-second interval to your recollection, right? From what direction did the twins approach you? Who was next to them? Or was there a figure next to them or not? This stuff could have been done in narrative fashion. And no lawyer is going to tell me otherwise. None of you McAfee is going to tell me otherwise. I'm a trial lawyer. I know how to do it. That's what it would have happened. But that never happened because the whole thing was a kabuki theater show. It was all crap. So, moving along. to the importance of the closed court. Okay. Another thing that my champions like to do is try to poke at me for saying, you act like you were on the dream team yourself and all blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I never said that I was. But what I will tell you is that I filed a petition in mandamus on the 4th of June to get access to the court. And I mentioned the fact that they're not responding to basic questions about having pens and paper there and all this stuff. And I need access. So that had a procedural error in it, like table of contents and something like that wasn't right? So I stayed up all night with one eye open, literally typing with one hand. My girlfriend's next to me, the dog's over here, and I'm like, I got one eye open all night to get the table of contents done. You know, the cut and pasting, all the stuff you got to do to make it right. I fixed it. I had somebody drop it off that day, and the 5th District Court could not wait to stamp no, like as soon as they got it in, right? Because they're protectors too. So they did that, but here's what's important, and this is what was noted in the motion for the new trial. Let me skip to it. It's gonna be on like page 100 and hold on, I'll tell you where. That's right, paragraph. About 100 and hold on. Yeah, about paragraph 106. They talk about the full scope of closure became apparent only after trial when present counsel obtained the declarations of members of the public who have been excluded. Okay, this point is underscored by a proceeding that unfolded outside of the defense's knowledge. Before trial, a member of the public filed an emergency petition for writ of mandamus in the 5th Court of Appeal, seeking relief from the same access order as an unconstitutional partial closure. The Court of Appeals denied that petition on procedural grounds on the 4th, then it was redone, blah, blah, blah. On his motion for reconsideration, the relator, that's me, operating as my handle was Parker Joe, I filed it, but the court only served the DA's office. The court did not provide a copy to the defense counsel, as it should have done. So therefore, it goes on, this is their word. Notice, blah, 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 blah. The public access challenge was thus pending and litigated as the trial approached and proceeded, and the state was on notice of it while the defense was left unaware that a member of the public was contesting the very closure at issue, and that the state knew of it while the defense did not. Both corroborate that the closure was real and confirm that the defendant had no opportunity to litigate it or object to it as it unfolded. Then wait for the whammy. The record of that proceeding is, moreover, among the materials in the court's file that the court has placed under an oral protective order. So that the proof of who was and was not notified is itself withheld from inspection, a further reason that these facts must be developed at a hearing. So I do plan to be there on the 20th. If the court should have any questions for me, I'm like, yeah, Your Honor, they're talking about me. You know, and the case I cited, now we can go into the importance of the case law. The granddaddy is Waller versus Georgia. And that tells people that it describes that if you're going to have a closure of any kind, you've got to have what's called a compelling governmental interest. This is what's called a strict scrutiny analysis. You are messing with fundamental rights, not just, so I wrote my brief from a perspective of the public First Amendment access right, but there's an attendant Sixth Amendment right to a fair trial, all right, and a public trial that the defendant has. The defendant did not ask for a closed trial. Sometimes defendants do, if it's really gory or whatever. They didn't ask for that. The state did it on its own. That makes it very different. So now,
King Cass,
yes.
what are the top 3 things that you think will allow this case to possibly get a retrial? What are some of the top 3? What is the top 3 things that you think will open the door for a retrial for this case?
Okay, let's wrap up with number one, which is what we're discussing right now, the closed court.
Okay.
So there was a case. Let's talk about these cases here. There's a table I just had pulled up. Hold on. And the table goes through these cases that describe what happens when you have a closed court and how the case was decided in terms of whether it be a new trial or not, right? So, I'll be dead. I can't find it right now. But the cases themselves go through it. It's called structural failure. I describe it to you, okay? And if you have here it is. I got it right here. Waller versus Georgia is number one. Okay, was there an overflow room or a live remote feed available? Okay, so when you have this compelling governmental interest, first you have to have a hearing on the record to define what is the compelling governmental interest that you're concerned about, right? Because I cited about 7 different cases that were huge, notorious cases that were handled with public access, with overflow rooms, with TV, all of these things, right? Carmelo's case was nothing new. So, except for the level of cover-up, in my opinion. But so Waller versus Georgia mandates a hearing on the record with findings of fact and conclusions of law as to what is the compelling level of interest to make it so narrow that you can only have this handful of people come in. That hearing never happened. Furthermore, when you're doing it, it has to be narrowly tailored to approach that objective. There's no fighting about that. There were other ways that could have accommodated this, like an overflow room, considering the fact that they used one for the voir dire jury selection. None of this makes sense. So, what happened in Waller, the entire suppression hearing was closed. It's motion to suppress, all right, the important evidence brought by the defense. There was no alternative offered, okay? So, guess what? The outcome, the closure was unjustified, and there was a new suppression hearing ordered. 2 more cases real quick. Stedman versus State, Texas, 2012. The family was barred from the voir dire for lack of room. Alternatives were not considered. Outcome, structural error. Conviction reversed to new trial order. What is a structural error? It means that whatever happened was not trivial or de minimis. It means that it was so, imagine what a structure fire is. Your whole structure is so burnt, it's gone. You will need to start again. So that's the issue. So the last one is Lilly versus State. That's a Texas criminal case 2012. No overflow room or live remote available. The trial was conducted in a restricted access setting. Guess what? Structural error, new trial. So, I rest. I land my plane. Questions? Oh, the other one. What are the reasons? Obviously, the so-called gentleman's agreement, however that was handled, that was something that was done that was inimical to Carmelo's best interest. And it limited so much that we're working on legislation that whenever one of these deviations from norm is involved, that there be a thorough explanation of all the ramifications to anyone who is under the age of 21, right? So that is something that we're working on too. Yeah. So that's another reason.
Wow.
What else? And those are the top 2 right there. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I got a question. Go ahead, finish, because I got a question for Dr. Ebony.
Well, just the fact that, like, they never showed the video. So Mike Howard, there's a thing called the rule of completeness. Mike Howard sat there and let the defense, or the state produce snippets of this video, of an alternate video, remind you, okay? They called it, it has a thing called highlight on it. I forget the feature. But what that spotlight, when you do it, it basically blurs everything already. Plus, I think there was another filter they threw on it anyway, right? So
you can see the overlay.
You could have, right?
I mean, you could see it. If you paid attention to it, you could see the overlay, and you saw when it came in. You saw all of that. And if you paid close attention, you could see people that look like ghosts. You could see all of that if you really slowed it down and really watched it. Like, they really did a number on Carmelo, and I'm so glad that we have the dream team that is really that is really doing. And I'm so thankful for all of the advocates that advocate day in and day out, that's breaking down these videos, that's just really diving in, and those that are sending in petitions, those that are filling out these letters, sending these letters, and going on these websites, and filling out these complaints against these lawyers, these DAs, all of that, because it's needed. People need to know that we have a voice and that we got to utilize our voice. Miss Dr. Ebony, I have a question for you. I want to go back to Carmelo. I know when they give him his sentence, and they allow the Metcalfs to do what you call it, impact statements, and how they talk to Carmelo. Just knowing that this baby is innocent, and that he truly self-defense, and that all that he's going through because of the lies and all of the things, just sitting there listening to them talk to him like that, I know that had to affect him mentally. um in your professional opinion, um I know they labeled him as an adult, but we all know that was a child. If you looked at the contents in his book bag, he had crossword puzzles, he had cartoon things in his book bag. So we know the type of kid that this child was. He was not a what they would classify as a thug, what they tried to label him as. He was a student. He had a lot going for him, and to sit and have to endure the 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 things that they spewed out to him, from your professional stance, do you think that contributed to the seizures that he endured um, after receiving that verdict? Because they say he seized up in the courtroom. Do you think that that what was said to him, and those things that was said to him knowing that what he did was self-defense, and him just knowing that he was right, and yet he just been given a verdict, he just been given this time that he's going to have to endure, and they've given their impact statements, and they're telling him, boy, look at me, and things of that nature. Do you think that may have contributed to him having those seizures? Because they said he seized up in the courtroom.
Right. I don't know if when they put him in custody, if it was that next day. I don't know if he is on like Tepra. Tepra, you should take, we can prescribe Tepra to be taken twice a day, 3 times a day. So I don't know how his medication regimen was set up, because if he does so twice a day, and they have him in custody around the time that he's supposed to have his medication, in addition to, you were, expected to get on the stand, testify, if you don't get on the stand and testify, and then you are told that you are found guilty, and then you're told that, you're getting 35 years. You know what I'm saying? All of those things compounding in the youngster's mind could have directed him into seizures, where now the quickest way to calm the brain down is to get the parents to come and bring the medication, versus having a provider that is in house doing the comprehensive assessment on him, and then deciding what medications they have available to them in a jail setting, right? Because when we go inside of a jail to medicate people, we have a limited formulary list, right? So we don't have available to us every possible medication to prescribe. So that means that whatever medicine that traditionally was taken, if they don't have that medication on the formulary list, he wouldn't have access to that medicine. They would have to, find the medicine that they do have access to, which means that he would be starting a new medication in the prison setting or in a jail setting, and you have to give it time to see whether or not it's going to work.
Wow. So is it normal for the prison to allow family to bring medication?
That's a really good question, because, that's a really good question. I've not seen that, right? Because when you're getting booked, everything that you have on your person, it goes into a storage, right? You can't get access to it because they don't know whether or not the container that you have in terms of the medication has been contaminated or not, So I would say probably not, that you wouldn't get access to your meds. But, again, the interviews that I saw with parents have the dad said that, he was in their seating and he was waiting on a phone call to see if the was fed, but he never confirmed, whether or not he took them. Now, if I could just also say with regards to what I was told Carmelo's presentation was at the time of sentencing, that grabs my heart for a lot of personal reasons aside from clinical reasons. I would say for Carmelo, his situation is vastly unique, because if he was like relying on his parents to like make sound decisions for him, right? And he's trusting his his survival to his parents, and then knowing that the police failed you, the parents failed you, that could, make the brain have trouble calming itself down with just like breathing in and things like that. What I would say with regards to Carmelo, the fact that the public came in and overrode his parents, like medical professionals, legal professionals were coming out the woodwork to like override his parents and to step into his situation with full force could mean that even if he is on a new medication in prison, that medicine, if you wouldn't necessarily need a very powerful drug to calm him down, because he already has a sense of calmness, because so many people are vested in him getting out of prison, and he's seeing for himself people writing him in prison, people adding money to his commentary, people, telling him that they're going to keep him safe in prison. Him seeing now he has 6 attorneys. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now it's the
Right.
most important refusal. Now it's the most important trial. And he's seeing that his community is invested in him because we see him as a part of us.
Right.
And he's seeing the full impact of his people uniting on his behalf.
Right.
And so he's trusting not just his mother or his father, he's trusting a whole army of people that are fighting against adults who took advantage of him as a child. And he's seeing how effective and hearing how effective we are because things are happening at a much more rapid rate. You know what I'm saying? Before we all got involved. And I would say, that would be something that would prove beneficial because now you don't need psychiatry, to put a helmet or try to figure out a way to keep him from hitting his head in his cell or hitting his head in the prison because he keeps, passing out, having tonic control.
Right, right. And not to mention that he has been overwhelmed with books. They had to tell people to stop sending him books because he has been overflowed with books. And I tell you, that's just love. I'm just so happy that we as a community was able to come together and just stand in unity with him and let him know that he matters. So we're gonna get ready to give our final thoughts. I want to thank you guys for No, I'm gonna because we're gonna get ready to close out in a little while, and we'll have to get ready for a gozy time. So I want everybody to give their final thoughts and ways that individuals can support your platforms and follow you in the things that you're doing. I'm gonna start with Dr. Ebony. If you would please give your final thoughts and share how we can support you.
This is amazing time, for us, as a people to just really look at how we want to do this going forward. The Dream Team, has given of their time. They're not getting paid for this, which may not be a reality for everyone who finds themselves in a similar situation, which I hope to God nobody ever finds themselves in a similar situation as Carmelo Anthony. And so, we now have an opportunity to reimagine how we are going to do this going forward. We need professionals like King Cass that are a hybrid, an attorney and an investigative journalist. Do we encourage more attorneys to go down this pathway? Do we encourage non-for-profit foundations to staff that type of professional in order to be accessible to individuals in the community, right? Do we start an organization that investigate certain elements in our society where people don't feel all by themselves because how are you going to find a team path? You know what I'm saying? Like you would have to know where he is. You would have to be plugged in online to know where he is. You know what I'm saying? To get him involved because he's been very instrumental at getting this out in the open in terms of putting these puzzle pieces together and communicating it in a way where people see us as intellectuals, right?
Right.
Where they don't see people screaming and being belligerent, where he's actually tying in these pieces so closely together in a way that responds to the system that they have created to trap us. You see what I'm saying? So I say this is a phenomenal time to reimagine how to do this going forward aside from voting. And then lastly, in terms of how to follow me, I'm on TikTok, Clear Mind Radio. I am on Instagram, Dr. Behave. You can, I've written several prayer books, Inside the Locker Room, Mind Peace, You could Google my name, Dr. Ebony Blackman Humphrey, and you can see the books that I've written. My website is Caritas ECM. That's the website in terms of my practice as a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. King Cass.
Yes. I just want to point out again, I'm going to drive this point home real quickly. If you look at my mandamus, there's a part of it where I said, I know the court's busy, but I have a reason to believe that this is still manageable by least restrictive means, as indicated throughout the country in cases like Rodney King, South Carolina versus Rick Chow, Georgia versus Michael, which is the Ahmaud Arbery, California versus O.J. Simpson, Minnesota versus Derek Chauvin, and Wisconsin versus Kyle Rittenhouse, and more. So I want to go back to Lilly versus State, the case I just read you, and it said, for example, the Supreme Court has held that a reviewing court cannot, quote, satisfy the deficiencies in the trial court's record, end quote, by making post hoc assertions inferring an overriding interest. And what happened in this case? Judge Roach issued his post hoc assertions that everything was okay. Did he not? Exactly. The handwriting is on the wall. So with that, I am moving forward now. I'm working on three things. Number one, a mandamus to make them turn up the original video that was shown to everybody at the facility. Number two, Derek Jackson's personnel record, the public information officer, the black one who was responsive, who evaporated. Okay, his personnel file, the Attorney General has 10 days left on that to decide if they're going to turn it over to me. And three, I'll be doing a mandamus for the toxicology and the autopsy for Austin Metcalf, both of them. So those three things. And so you can reach me. My handle right now, of course, I'm in Facebook jail again, right? But I will give you my handle. TikTok, you can send me a message there, or comment on one of my posts there. You can find me at TikTok, which is going to be King Cast Journal, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, King Cast Journal, all one word. King Cast, C-A-S-T, Journal will take you there. My Facebook, you can send me a message that is going to be King Cast, I believe. If you just hit King Cast plus Carmelo Anthony or King Cast plus Cannabis, you will find my Facebook. And for the time being, you can still message me there. There is a GoFundMe, which I can direct you to, or you can donate directly at Cash App is $King Cast 65 for my birth year. So those are the ways you can get a hold of me. Obviously, I'm not going to get my number out over this crazy internet, but you can find me. And I can answer questions, and you can help out distribute things. And yeah, a few dollars is nice because I took this kind of endeavor on. I thought, okay, well, I'm going to start my practice again, and I'll be able to devote all the time in the world to build that. But in reality, every day has been on Carmelo. So that's kind of what's going on. And I want to thank everybody here, the host, the guest, you listeners, everybody. Just hang in there, man. We've got to keep pressing. We're going to keep pressing, and good will happen.
Amen, amen, amen. Well, I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. I tell you, I have definitely been blessed. I thank our amazing producer for the opportunity to be able to come on and to share. I tell you, this is more than a show. This is a ministry for me. This is not just about media. This is advocacy in action. This is a purpose on assignment. I thank everybody for supporting this platform and all of the platforms that I have been fortunate enough to be a part of. I challenge you to continue to stand against injustice, to continue to stand in unity. We can pray, we can speak, we can organize, we can support families, and we can demand fairness because we have to protect our children. Again, I want to thank all of you for tuning in tonight. to the WBNN Beverly Nation Ngozi Time Multimedia LLC Communications. I tell you, we're going to continue to speak their names: Carmelo Anthony, Tristan Weekly, Christopher Ninghouse, Nolan Wells, Kalia Simmons, Daniel Irvin, and Daryl Lowry. We asked the necessary questions, we challenged the silence, and we lifted up concerns for our community. We reminded one another that our Black kings and queens deserve protection, fairness, dignity, love, and justice. Again, special thank you to my powerful guests, Chris King Esquire and Dr. Ebony, for bringing truth, wisdom, courage, and insight to this conversation tonight. Know that your voice matters, you matter, your work matter, your presence mattered tonight, and thank you for helping me carry this message forward. Again, I thank all of the listeners under the sound of my voice. I don't want you to leave without knowing that our voice matter and that we matter and that we want justice too. Justice is for us, even though we don't see it. It is Ngozi time.
Thank you for being in this program tonight. Thank you. And of course, tomorrow night we come back on with an outstanding special Saturday night edition of Beverly Nation. And it is the 2026 Battle of the Network Stars. We had 3 outstanding mystery judges tomorrow night. I'll be on tomorrow night. I don't know if Olak Kasub will be on tomorrow night. We'll see. But, of course, it's good right down to the rundown. Unique Parker versus Dr. Uni Bakatoon. Ladar and Mike Penn, Ladar Penn and Mike P versus Angela Thomas Smith. Clever One versus Yolanda Mitchell Taylor. And, of course, Brian Fagan versus Dr. Shoshanisha. That'll be 9:30 Eastern Daylight Time on the one and only Beverly Nation Radio. Congratulations to Angela Thomas Smith on her 81st WBN all-time connection record with the 4th consecutive show in championship round with the Darlene Lawrence Championship, honoring our late great Hall of Fame. Congratulations. WBN communications, advertising, go through time, multimedia, Pinterest, Google, Instagram, and X. Point on Twitter, Ola Malay Wingows, Facebook, any comments, suggestions, or one program tonight. Olay.gmail.com. I am your mother and father, favorite producer, Ola Malay Wingows, afforded by the University of Michigan and Colgate University. And Lonnie and Debbie, baby boy, saying good night and good luck to all the folks out there in Armed Force Radio to support us on a constant basis. And now to exceptional accolade, the 2023 Anna Waddell Award Winner of Excellence, Study and Communications Host of the Year. The 2023 International Internet Radio Hall of Fame Broadcasting Enshrinee. But in excelsis, the 2026 International Internet Radio Hall of Fame Broadcasting Lifetime Achiever from Anderson, South Carolina, or Liverland, South Carolina. What about standing young lady? Also, the proprietor of the Crew Podcast at a social media outlet near you, Angela Thomas Smith.
Again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I will be back in 4 weeks. You can follow me across most social media platforms. I am affectionately known as the Queen Visionary, Angela Thomas Smith, also Queen of Collaborations. You can check me out on my website, which is www.angelathomassmithbooks.com. I'm on a road to 200 published literary works, and I'm excited. Again, you can check out the Crew Podcast Sunday through Thursday, 8 p.m. We stream live through Facebook, Twitch, Keek, and YouTube. We have 8 amazing hosts that is holding it down. They are the kings and queens of the airways. I thank Brother O for opportunity to be here 6 years on this amazing network. If it was not for him, I don't know where I will be in broadcasting, and I don't know where the Crew Podcast will be. So shout out to him for allowing us this amazing platform. So again, I am thanking each and every one of you for tuning in. Be blessed, and I will see y'all in 4 weeks.
Tonight we ask the hard questions. Family. Why are our black kings and queens under attack? Why does justice feel like justice not for